What is up, my friends? We are back after another fantastic victory for the Reds last night in the Champions League. And as you can see on screen, I am joined by our favourite journalist, Mr. David Lynch. Well, David, second half FC strikes again, my friend.
Yeah, really, really good again. And do you know what? As good as they were in the second half, I mean, yeah, scoring 4 goals and blowing a team of that quality away, I actually kind of really enjoyed the first half as well. Just the control that Liverpool showed. They were, even in that half, the more threatening side. They were getting shots that were blocked in the box. They were generating opportunities in that first half and controlling the game and controlling Leverkusen's threat, and they are a really dangerous side as well. So I actually kind of like that half as well. But obviously, second half, as they have done on numerous occasions this season, is the manager gets them in, tells them where the spaces are, and they go out there and just ruthlessly exploit them. And yeah, it was just a wonderful second half performance in it. But I thought overall, fully deserved to win that game. Not just on the basis of the second half performance. I thought they were the better side throughout. So yeah, it should have, in theory, been Liverpool's toughest test really so far, certainly in the Champions League, and they've blown a side of that quality away. So yeah, really, really good yet again.
There's so many positive performances to speak about. Obviously, Lucho, Curtis, and we'll go through them. But I want to start off with the manager because it was the most electric he's probably seen Anfield last night. You could see the beaming smile on his face. And one thing that really stood out to me in his post match stuff, David, was speaking about the fact that Leverkusen almost caught him off by surprise with the way they'd set up initially. He said that he hadn't seen Boniface coming in playing off the left hand side before, and it took a little while to figure that out. And he then alluded to the fact that it's commonplace now for teams to come to Anfield and just try something different to try and catch him out. But it also spoke to me about how good he and his team are at spotting these things and altering them in this a half time. He's just impressing me so much, David, is where I'm trying to go with this long-winded question. Same for yourself and the other journalists. I see you were saying you were sitting beside James Pearce last night. He's such an impressive man. He really is.
I just didn't think he would be this good this early. It usually takes time to get the tactical concepts embedded, to have your side be in this sort of shape. And as you say, it kind of says everything about how good he is that teams are coming up with mad ideas and trying to kind of bamboozle him, because they know if they just go toe to toe with Liverpool and Arne Slot's Liverpool, they'll probably get destroyed. And even when they are coming up with these tweaks, as I say, in that first half, maybe Bayer Leverkusen were a bit closer to Liverpool than they ended up being. But I still thought Liverpool controlled that and dealt with it really well. And again, that the manager's tweaking things on the sidelines, getting them moving around, making sure that they cope with those problems, and then he's allowed then to get them in at half time and tell them how to fully break it down, and they typically always do. And I think it's just incredible really that he's got his players so kind of eating out the palm of his hand this early in his reign, and he's got them so well organized in both in every aspect of the game. Like I say, just did not think it would work this well this quickly, and that says everything about him as a manager. Because, and I will go back actually to pre-season, where I thought immediately you could see the kind of hallmarks of an Arne Slot team, and that gave me real encouragement. And the fact he's just taken it straight into the season is pretty remarkable. And I made the point in my YouTube review last night that this isn't normal. That the side under a new manager is playing this well this quickly, and we really, really shouldn't take it for granted, and should hail him as he's doing an incredible job so far.
So much to unpack from last night, but I want to just start with the opening goal because I have to admit it was my favourite of the bunch. Just the way it was, just bang, 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 finish. It was beautiful. It was, you seen Trent play the ball, I believe it was, into Curtis, and then what a slide rule pass, by the way, from Curtis Jones into Lucho, who showed all the calm and poise that you would expect from a veteran centre forward, and just dinked it over the goalkeeper. I mean, I don't know about you, David, but for me, that was my favourite goal of the game.
Yeah, just really, really well worked. A perfectly weighted pass from Curtis. Liverpool do well to work the space for him to find in midfield as well. Just really nice passing move. And then, yeah, as I say, perfect pass and an impudent finish. And again, another thing I said last night is that we talk about Luis Diaz not being clinical, or we certainly did last season. And you look at that finish and you think, well, he clearly actually is. Finished that one like a striker, and obviously ends the game with 3 goals. And I think one of the things I kind of like the most, and I wrote about this on Substack today, if people want to check that out, davidlynchlfc.co.uk, I did kind of a tactical breakdown of how Diaz worked in in that centre forward role and why he wanted to do it. And one of the things he kept doing is, and this is what the manager wanted from him, was keep continually dropping into a deep position to drag someone with him. And it was, he mentioned Tar actually, Slot in his post match, but it was actually Tapsoba who was kept continually being attracted to him and getting dragged into deep positions. And Liverpool tended to exploit that a few times early in the game. And because he'd done that so many times and been dragged where he didn't want to go, he kind of held off a little bit in that moment in the build up to the goal, held a deep position. And because he did that and he's trying to get tight to Luis Diaz as well, he leaves that space in behind him to attack. So it's that variation. Because he'd come deep quite a lot, Tapsoba's trying to get tight to him, but then that time he goes in behind, and because the man's tight, he's got so much space and he's got the run on him, and he works that space himself. And as I say, the finish is brilliant. So it was just brilliant all round. Great from Curtis Jones, great from Luis Diaz, but also brilliant from Arne Slot in terms of how he'd set them up and that use of Luis Diaz in that number 9 position. I think we saw in that moment and throughout the game how well that worked.
On Lucho, Champions League hat-trick, never to be sniffed at. It just speaks again to Arne Slot's ability to improve players, that we are seeing Lucho go from a 7 out of 10 maybe to an 8.5 and 9 out of 10 this quickly, in a position, David, that I don't remember him playing for the centre for Liverpool previously. You have to be impressed with both Lucho and, of course, the attributes that Arne has seen in him and been able to get out of him.
Yeah, it was just a genius move, really. I mean, as you say, he hasn't played at centre forward for Liverpool before. It's certainly not started a game there. I had a look back yesterday to work that one out. He's never started a game for Liverpool there before. But clearly the manager's seen something there that he can play that role. And as he said in the post-match, kind of broke it down that, really Bayer Leverkusen centre-halves want to go up against you. They want to turn it into a physical battle. And if you'd played Núñez there, it would have been more that type of game. So he just wanted to give them a completely different problem to think about with Diaz. And as I say, the fact he mixed it up with kind of coming deep and going in behind, Tapsoba never really knew where he was up to with him. And that's what, as I say, worked the space for the first goal. But over and over, there were moments where he'd kind of pull him deep and then there was space out wide for someone else to exploit. It was just a brilliant performance. As you say, speaks to kind of his versatility as a forward, and shows maybe that he can get minutes in different positions when you've got that really good option of Gakpo on the left, but also for the manager to spot it, have the bravery to use it in a game of this profile and importance. Was pretty remarkable, really. And it, he scored a hat-trick in a 4-0 win, so I would say that pretty much came off for him.
Oh yeah, I'd say we can put that one in the win column, definitely. And there were so many great performances that I want to carry on speaking about. And Curtis Jones was absolutely everywhere last night. I thought he was sensational. Any other night, you would have been nailed on for man of the match display, I think. But obviously, Luis Diaz, Champions League hat-trick. I just want to take a second to give Curtis his flowers, David, and to again just speak about his evolution under Arne Slot, because he just looked like the Energizer Bunny out there. You spoke about Diaz dropping deep a lot. It was noticeable how advanced Curtis Jones was at times in setting the press as well. He's coming into his own. I don't know if it's fatherhood, if it's Arne Slot or whatever it might be, but this is a version of Curtis Jones that I think we're all enjoying seeing.
Yeah, I think one of the things it's worth mentioning is that he spoke in pre-season, didn't he, about the fact he felt that this style of football suited him a little better, and maybe we are just seeing the fruits of that, because in midfield, so often under Jurgen Klopp, it was just about facilitating others, running around, covering ground, and not really doing a lot else, and kind of firing the ball off to the forwards as quickly as possible. Whereas now, Slot wants a little bit more control. He wants his midfield to be kind of the heart of the team and control things and tick things over. And the beauty is that Curtis gets to combine that with the fact he is energetic. He can get about when it's needed, and so it's kind of a perfect mix for him, this type of football. And I think that's the reason that we are seeing the best of him, and because he does get to do a little bit of both things. And he was clearly right that this manager's football does suit him down to the ground, because this is the best football he's played for Liverpool. And I would say, he's had a lot of good performances under Jurgen Klopp, by the way. Let's not play those down. I've always been a big fan of him, even since he was coming through the academy. But I think one thing that we want to see now is that he stays fit as well, doesn't have any setbacks. And, if he can play consistently between now and the end of the season, he's going to have an absolutely massive influence on this team.
One of my favourite moments last night was a Salah moment, actually, and he didn't get on the score sheet, but he did still have a big part to play in the game with a couple of assists, I believe. But there was one moment where he kind of sliced the ball with his right foot. Do you remember the strike?
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh, that's why he's very left-footed. But then he shut me up. 2-3 minutes later, a few minutes later, he puts a sublime right-footed cross onto the head of Cody Gakpo, and you were asking yourself, where was that right foot a minute ago, Mo? But it was a very impressive cross, and glad Cody got that goal. Obviously, it had to go to VAR, and it was overturned. By the way, Mark Clattenburg was saying it was offside before. So on my eye line there, that's offside, lads, and his punditry. But less said about Mark Clattenburg, the better. But yeah, funny moment that from Salah. Slices one with his right foot, and then a pinpoint cross to Gakpo.
Yeah, it's kind of not a cross that I think I've ever seen from him before either. It's really brilliantly struck. And again, by the way, on that goal, I want to mention that you spoke about the variation in Luis Diaz, and this is again something I kind of went into in my piece I wrote on Substack today, is that, you know, this time, rather than going in behind as he had for the first goal, Diaz drops into a really deep position, exchanges passes with Salah, arriving into the box late. That creates confusion, and Gakpo is just a free man at the back post because of that. So again, yet more proof that that centre forward role with Diaz there really, really worked on that occasion. But as you say, brilliant ball from Salah, and obviously Gakpo in the right place at the right time to finish it off. And it's funny with Salah, I kind of thought, you know, Independent for me, had a really good game actually. I was watching him and I thought he's doing quite well up against Salah here. He's winning a few battles, looked really composed in possession. He was the Leverkusen player who impressed me the most on the night. And yet Mo Salah ends the game with, I think, 3 shots and 2 assists. And you think, well, that's someone playing well against him. That is how good he is. And I think that cross just kind of exemplified that. He's out of this world, isn't he? And he's absolutely flying at the moment.
He certainly is, as are the whole squad. I wanted to speak for a moment about the great squad management I seen last night again from Arne Slot, because we seen game in the bag, substitutions made, the likes of Costas, Cody, Trent, all given a rest maybe ahead of the game against Aston Villa. But that phrase that you mentioned last night, David, it isn't normal. It isn't normal to see this transition to a new coach, for it to seem as flawless as I had. It isn't normal for Anfield to keep doing what it's doing. This club just isn't normal, David, and Arne Slot seems to have fitted in seamlessly. And I have to admit, I was always behind Arne Slot's appointment, but even in my most optimistic moments, I didn't think results were going to be this seamless.
No, that's it. I just think it usually takes time for you to kind of, to embed what you want your players to do and for them to understand it. And I know you can say, okay, he inherited a very good squad, and he absolutely did, and the tactical differences aren't that vast between him and Jurgen Klopp. So he didn't have an unbelievable amount. He didn't have to kind of rip it up and start again or anything like that. But I still think that the changes are significant enough that we're seeing. I mean, the defensive performance is remarkable, the difference between this season and last, how much that has stepped up. And that's got Arne Slot's fingerprints all over it. And that he's done that in this period where he had a really disruptive pre-season because of the 2 international tournaments. He's coming into a new club, had to put a new backroom staff together. All those things are changing. And just come in and got this level of performance out of them is... yeah, it's ridiculous, really, and we really should be highlighting that over and over again, that he's done this. And the fact that he has made this incredible start is, it's put Liverpool in a great position, because now you do feel that there has been enough time for them to really grasp those tactical concepts. So we should start seeing kind of the best of them going forward. And they're already in this position where the top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League, City are wobbling, Arsenal have wobbled. They're already 7 points behind. It's pretty exciting, really, and I think people should be getting excited about it. I totally get why people don't want to get carried away, but you're supposed to get excited about football, and this Liverpool are in an unbelievable position, in a position that's better than most of us would have expected. So everyone should really be getting on board with that.
I used to enjoy watching Kloppo sprint down the tunnel at halftime to go to the video analysts, get the clips ready for the lads. I wonder, whatever it is Arne Slot is doing. I made an analogy last night. It's like somebody goes into the dressing room at halftime of these games, gives them a messed up Rubik's Cube, and he's just, there you go, boys, sort it out. Whatever him and Sipka Hulshoff and the rest of the backroom staff are doing, I have been blown away by their tactical nous. More than anything else, like, we've struggled as fans to watch it. You've been sitting in the stands watching it and saying sometimes these things are so subtle that you mightn't even notice them initially. He is, I think, just probably the most tactically aware coach I've seen at Liverpool in my lifetime watching them. It's just been amazing to see. And I want to give his backroom staff their credit as well, because this isn't a one-man band.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that ability to spot where the spaces are and the ability to make tweaks and make changes. And yeah, we've just seen it time and time again so far this season. And as you say, it's not just down to him. You always see the coaches having a conflab at the sidelines, talking to each other, working out, pointing and gesticulating where the issues are and where they think they can hurt the opposition. So they are really working well as a kind of new look team that's been put together as well, because obviously his old mate Sitka Holthoff is there, but you think Aaron Briggs, he didn't know him before this. Fabian Otter, the goalkeeping coach as well, was kind of a new guy to him, and yet he's got this group together who didn't really know each other, and they're just working brilliantly well. In fact, Johnny Heitinger as well, you hadn't worked with him before as far as I'm aware. So it's kind of completely new look coaching staff, and yet it's working this smoothly. And I just say all working together to find ways to break sides down and to hurt them. And yeah, they're doing an unbelievable job of that, really.
On Fabianotta, actually, I heard Caoimhin Kelleher quoted as saying he's enjoying working with them. Obviously, he was with John Achterberg for a long time there. But I just wanted to selfishly, as an Irishman, take a second to speak about Caoimhin, because last night, his first Champions League start, and what gets me about him is just how chill he is, David, just as a person out there. He never looks flapped. He never looks stressed. He deserves whatever opportunities comes his way in the future, because he has been one of, if not the second best goalkeeper, or second choice goalkeeper, the best one in the world. He's been phenomenal. And last night, again, did everything asked of him.
Well, I just haven't really seen anyone mention the Alisson injury since he's been out, and that sums it up for me. Is that nobody's talking about this as a problem for Liverpool, because they don't have a problem in goal, because Caoimhin Kelleher is there and he's this good. And I will say it over and over again, I can't believe someone didn't sign him. He's that good. He's coming in the Champions League there. It's absolutely seamless. I mean, the best thing, he basically had nothing to do all night yesterday, up until that last little flurry when Liverpool were kind of cruising and he gave up a couple of chances. And he makes two brilliant saves. And in between that and before that, he's looking so comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's really brave to come for crosses and claiming things. And he's just a top level goalkeeper. And I say someone like Chelsea should be looking at him. I hope he never goes there, but he should be playing at that kind of level. Other Champions League teams should be looking at him to come in and be their goalkeeper, because he keeps proving time and time again that he is worthy of that level, because he's performing at that high level for Liverpool. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. He's got everything you need to be a top class goalkeeper, and he keeps showing that in these periods when he comes in for Alisson's injuries, because you just don't worry about them.
Yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal. And what a goalkeeper department we have at the club, by the way. Jarosz has been called upon, and he's been more than able when he stepped in as well. So I want to switch it up a little bit from last night and talk about Chris Bascombe having been quoted as saying that the club considered asking Gary Neville for a retraction around his comments that Arne Slot was the third choice, or the third person offered the Liverpool managerial job. Now, I think that's probably the right decision, David, that the club didn't go formal, but it is also important that the wider public know that the club do keep an eye on these things, and the club are aware of it, because Neville in particular has, in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, gone out of his way to undermine Liverpool at times, whether it's speaking about Darwin and Salah, the managerial situation. I get it. He's a United boy through and through, but your thoughts on that whole situation, and whether you think the club would have gone public to say something, or do you think it was the right decision to maybe just let it be known that they're displeased with it, but not going formal with it?
Yeah, so I wrote myself about Xabi Alonso not being first choice, and kind of Gary Neville in the build up to the game, and I didn't actually know about that element that Basco had written about. I thought it was really an interesting one, that he's saying that the club kind of considered going public. I agree with you. I'm kind of glad they didn't. They probably don't need to descend into getting into battles like that, but I think it does kind of say, I think it offers a little bit of a reminder maybe to Gary Neville that, I think he's in a privileged position working with Sky. He's one of the most high-profile pundits of the game in English football, and sometimes you just got to be a little bit careful of saying things like that. It feels. I don't think this is intention to make Liverpool look foolish, but it's kind of. And I say this with the greatest respect, but it's almost fan channel level kind of in terms of I don't think he should be as dragged by his loyalties. I mean, but for example, it's absolutely fine for you to be, when you cover Liverpool, to talk about the game in that sort of way. Whereas I think if you're Gary Neville, I don't want him to be put all his biases to one side. We all know he supports and loves Manchester United. That's absolutely fine. But to say things publicly that kind of aren't true in that environment, and when you've got that platform, and it's such a big platform for Sky Sports, you've just got to be a little bit more measured, surely. And I was surprised he said that. And as I say, I'm glad the club didn't kind of knock that down publicly or anything like that. But it was, just demonstrably total nonsense. It never got to the point where you could get close to offering it to Xabi Alonso. So I don't know why he was saying that. And I do think with Gary Neville's analysis, sometimes he was an absolute breath of fresh air when he came in. But I sometimes wonder at the moment, is he almost too busy? Has he got too much on to reach those levels again? Because sometimes it feels like it's going down the route now of kind of sound bites rather than cold-headed analysis. Whereas, and this is not a loyalty to Liverpool thing, I absolutely promise you. I feel like Jamie Carragher's level of analysis is absolutely top class and maybe on a different level at the moment. And I'd like to see Gary Neville get back to that, because I thought he's a brilliant pundit when he puts his mind to it. Don't want him trying to make digs at Liverpool or treat games in that way, or sounding like he's got a smack bum when he's commentating on Liverpool doing well. To be honest, he's much better than that. So yeah, I thought it was a really kind of interesting insight from Basco, that one.
I do agree with you, by the way. I think we spoke about this just before we went live, or when we started recording. We're both fans of Gary Neville as a pundit. When himself and Jamie Carragher were doing Monday Night Football, they were absolutely fantastic. But I agree on the lines being blurred between maybe content creator and professional pundit. Sometimes sound bites are important, but yeah, I just hope that he tones it down a little bit, because we all enjoy his good punditry. And as you said, him and Cara have readjusted the landscape there. I wanted to speak about something from Milan Live. Again, it's about Federico Chiesa, where they say that there's a swap being considered between Reinders and Chiesa. I don't know where this keeps coming from, David, but it's always from the Italian side. It's like they miss Federico Chiesa or something, or they want him back. Again, can we bat this one away?
Yeah, no chance. Absolutely no chance that Liverpool would consider getting rid of him at this point. The hope is that he's going to be fit and available after the international break, and obviously it's been a frustrating start for him. But the hope is that he's going to be ready to make an impact across the remainder of the season, and whether that's a huge impact or not, it might be getting to the point where that disrupted preseason really kind of hurts him. But even to play, half an hour here or there, or come in for a League Cup game for Mo Salah would be massive for Liverpool, because he is a quality player, and it might take him a little while to adapt to that intensity. So we might not see the best of him this season. But just to have him around and available, which is the aim after the international break, would be massive. So no thoughts of loaning him out or anything like that. Liverpool signed him for the long term, and that's the idea, that he will play a big role in the long term. So not sure why that one keeps coming up, but it's one that can be pretty easily dismissed.
So last night we spoke about Xabi Alonso and his welcome back. We spoke about Arne Slot, but I wanted to just say, I wonder if it rang in Trent's mind once again. You've seen the result coming in from the Santiago Bernabeu last night, where AC Milan beat Real Madrid 3-1, and then you've seen another special European night at Anfield. Now, I don't care how used to it you get, these things have to matter, and I wonder, is that maybe planted another little seed in Trent's mind of, how could I possibly give this up?
Well, they just don't look like the surefire bet that they have for the last 5 or 6 years, do they? I don't think they're going to be the side that wins the Champions League this season. I think they've really hurt themselves. I mean, it's reassuring, by the way, I think, that Real Madrid, who've just looked like an absolute machine in recent years, and you were almost thinking, is this ever going to come to an end? Because they're making great decision after great decision, and then they've completely shot themselves in the foot by signing one too many Galacticos, and it's absolutely fallen apart. So absolutely fantastic, I think, even from just a neutral perspective, to see that. You don't want to see sides become too dominant in any league or competition. So it is good to see that even if you have the most money in the world and you generally make smart decisions, a couple of poor decisions can really, really, harm you. So I think really good to see that. And as you say, from Trent's perspective, they don't look like they're going to win the Champions League this season. It looks like they might be having a few problems going forward. Barcelona are all over them in La Liga now as well. So it isn't the sure bet that it was. So sometimes the grass isn't always greener, in Liverpool, by contrast, look to be on the up again. They look to be getting back towards where they were, which is, with Michael Edwards in charge as well, they're going to make smart decisions in the transfer market going forward as well to get even better. So, for Trent, surely the appeal of, as you say, those Anfield nights, even, if you want to go and try something somewhere else, Real Madrid doesn't look like the place to be at the moment. It's certainly on the basis of the start to this season. So, I think all these things contribute to the decision making that's happening. But I still think that, as I always say, that the priority from Liverpool's side and Trent's side is to get this thrashed out and to get him to stay.
Well, fingers crossed he does. Just before we finish up, a little word on Ben Doak, who had another great assist last night from Middlesbrough and really looks like an exciting player there in the Championship under the guidance, obviously, of a former Manchester United player, but doing very well on loan at Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I really like him as a player. I'm still a little sceptical over whether it's going to happen for him at Liverpool. I still think there's concerns over end product for him. I know he's very, very young, but you do see with forwards that when they break through at that age, they do tend to have that area kind of sorted out. And he looks a little while off that, and he hasn't got too many goal contributions while he's been at Middlesbrough, albeit he gets one yesterday. I still think there's real talent there, but I think, ultimately, if Liverpool don't decide to bring him back in and have him as an option, he's going to make the club a lot of money, because I think there's still other clubs will see that there's value in him there and that he can have a really good career. And that's reassuring to see from his perspective as well, that he can do it at that level and that he's clearly still an extremely talented player. Now, whether that means anything for him at Liverpool or not, we'll have to see. But I still think, always good to see young players doing well.
So, David, we've got Aston Villa on Saturday night, last game for the international break. What have you got coming up on your Substack and on your YouTube channel over the next few days?
Yeah, so I've now got sort of access to some statistical software now, which I can create graphics and do all that sort of tactical breakdown stuff. So I've done one on Luis Diaz today, which I'd urge people to go and check out. But also that's going to start featuring on my YouTube channel as well. So do have a look at that. And yeah, so I've got, in Substack, it's statistical breakdowns, the tactical stuff, and all the insight pieces, and also ad-free podcasts as well after every match. So it's a really, really good time to subscribe if people want to check it out. And I always say my aim is, every time you read something on there, I want you to learn something you didn't know about Liverpool before. And I really do think I'm delivering on that. So hopefully people want to check it out at davidlynchlfc.co.uk.
You certainly are delivering. I tell you, if I'm finished my content on a match day, I'm straight on to read and listen to what you've had to say in your match analysis. So thank you, David, as always, for your time. And no doubt we will catch up after the Aston Villa game. Ladies and gentlemen, another great win for the Reds, headed in the right direction. And we will be back early next week after, hopefully, we get another 3 points against Aston Villa. Until then, thank you for watching. Look forward to your comments and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.